Hey Joe, I'm here for progression playoffs.
Ah, Leah, my good friend and co-host of the Progression Playoffs, available at youtube.com/mbtYugiO. What brings you to my house?
I'm here for the progression playoffs. I was really excited to play Wave Motion Cannon. I said that in the previous take.
No, that's tomorrow. Today I'm doing the Sprigguns 10-minute testing.
Oh.
Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. It's been a pretty wild week, huh? Britain got COVID 2020, the government was almost overthrown by the League of Facebook Uncles, and most importantly, I read the Sprigguns cards. These lore-adjacent assault weapons have a lot of potential, and also provide a home for one of the most powerful archetypes that has yet to top anything ever. Presenting Time Thief Sprigguns. Before we begin, if you're not yet subscribed, let me sweeten the pot for you. Click that little button below the video and I promise I will actually play something good for next week's History of Yu-Gi-Oh! So here's the list, and yes, of course it's a Zeus deck. Cut me some slack, Xyz can only do so much. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is an online strategy site for our mutual favorite card game. It's got a deck builder, card database, and a wealth of strategy articles. It's also where I post the Quarantine Series deck breakdowns, so give it a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. With that out of the way, let's sniff into Sprigguns. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I gotta think of something better than that. Sprigguns are a sort of weird goblin from Cornish fairy lore, but in Yu-Gi-Oh! I think they're literally spring guns, fire machines that sort of look like artillery. They have an extremely interesting gimmick. Their field spell, the Sand Planet Gold Golgonda, allows you to pitch a Spriggan to summon a Spriggan's Xyz from your extra deck. What use is an Xyz monster without material, you may be wondering? Well, worry not. Alongside their unique effect, every one of the Spriggans can load itself underneath their weaponry from the hand, field, or graveyard. Each of the Xyz also has an Omega-style self-banish effect, which places the material back in the graveyard for the next turn, and the boss safe in the banished zone. If you do this with Golgonda on field, it also battle fades your opponent. And if we're building around Xyz monsters that banish themselves, there's none better than Time Thief Redoer, who can often pair his own effect with some draws or bounces, depending on what material he's got underneath. It also helps that Time Thief has a Rescue Rabbit, Sprigguns has a Vessel for the Dragon cycle, and only one of the two archetypes actually needs the normal. There's also incidental synergy. Winder can detach a Spriggan that you just added to the graveyard, the Time Thieves can set up a Merrymaker, and of course, any of these monsters with variable material are insane with Zeus. Hopefully, we've stumbled upon the modern build of Chain Beat, and not another bust. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First, our Sprigguns. 3 Banger, which can banish a Spriggan and itself to search a Spriggan. 3 Brothers, which summons from graveyard when sent to the hand or deck to the graveyard. 3 Peed, which can be tributed to summon a spent Spriggan. 2 Rocky, which adds a Spriggan from your graveyard to your hand. The last two form, in the words of Golden Nova, a Seer Dante loop that is indispensable for grinding, and 2 Sargus, who is independently strong. Often you'll have 1 remaining free Spriggan, and this is sort of Drident, so why not end on him? For Time Thieves, we've got 3 Regulator, 2 Winder, 1 Adjuster, and 1 Bezel Ship. Finally, we're playing 3 Ash. In terms of spells and traps, we're on 3 Golgonda, 3 Watch, which searches the field, or if you've already got one, adds a Spriggan to hand and sends 1 to the graveyard, 3 Booty, which searches the field spell and negates face-up monsters when yours tag out, 3 Disparity, Terraforming, Foolish, Reborn, Called by the Grave, and Retrograde. In the extra, we're on Splind, it's just Titan-clad, 2 Zeus, 2 X-Blower, which targets a zone and pops everything adjacent to it, Redoer, King of the Feral Imps, you can cut this, but he searches the extremely large worm we are not playing, Gear Gigant, Perpetua, Mary, Access Code, Unicorn, Phoenix, and the Boojin Link. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Paleozoic Frog, a deck that's certainly been making a splash in recent months. It turns out anything that can make Zeus is probably good enough. We're going first. We're going to lead with a copy of Booty. We'll use it to get a gold Golgonda to our side of the field, and followed up with a Watch. Because we have the field spell on our side of the field, we can both get and bin a Spriggans, then we'll go into a Mary and equip the Mary with the Brothers from the grave. We'll detach the Brothers to summon the Winder from hand, followed by the Adjuster. We'll trigger the Winder effect in order to add a Retrograde to hand, before activating the graveyard effect of Banger and adding a Peed to hand. We'll normal summon the Peed and go into a Redoer, ending on a board of Redoer Redoer and Mary and Captain, but for the Ghost Bell. Okay, we can suit up the Mary at least, set the retrograde, and pass back to our opponent. They draw a Disparity for turn, and against the trap deck, we find a monster. What are the chances? They're going to go for Swap Frog twice. They have set up their graveyard as much as they want to. They'll activate the effect of Ronin Totem, and I don't want to get toted, so we'll fire off this copy of Merrymaker now. They're going to go into Sky Cav in response, and follow it up with a Pot of Disparity, which we will take with the retrograde. Now, when we detach for our Redoer, we're going to be able to also draw a card. We can fade our opponent's battle with this copy of Gold Golgonda. They'll set 2, and at end step, we're able to trigger the effect of our fusion to summon a Rocky, activate the effect of Rocky to get the Loop in Motion P'd back to hand, and both of our monsters back to our side of the field. We'll activate Redoer and another monster. What are the chances? Okay, well, we'll go for P to bring back this copy of Captain, and we'll activate Captain's effect in order to pop this Sky Cavalry, and oh god, it's opponent's turn only. Okay, I can fix this. We'll activate Redoer, then activate Booty's effect in order to negate the effect of Sky Cav. That means we can activate Monster Reborn to bring back this copy of Winder, and Winder's effect in order to get a Bezel ship for next turn. We'll activate Pede's effect and proceed to the battle phase. We walk over it. It can't be destroyed by battle, but we are still able to make Zeus. They'll Torrential Tribute, and though we do fire the Zeus, and we look to be at parity, that's not the case because, of course, we have a Redoer. Finally, we find a trap card off of Redoer. They'll go for a Ronin Totem, and boy, oh boy, am I going to enjoy putting that on top of the deck. We draw for turn, and that's not very good. One problem with the Sprigguns is that you need 2 cards in order to facilitate any of your combos, so this one Booty isn't going to do very much. Thankfully, we do fiend a spell card off of the activation of Bezel Ship, so we'll be able to draw 2 times instead of 1. A Disparity, a fantastic top deck, but for the Ash Blossom in our hand. This should be wrapped up. At end phase, we'll activate Redoer to draw a card. Wow, a Disparity! And then we'll activate Redoer again in standby, finding another spell so we can draw another one. We're going to go for Booty here now that we have another Sprigguns. We'll fire off the Watch, and the Gold Golgonda will take us there. We'll go for Rocky in order to bring back Pede, and we'll activate Bezel Ship, detaching a material, and Banger's effect as well. This is way more than enough. We'll go for Gold to go into, wow, the big blaster itself before making Sargus, activating Rocky's effect, activating X-Blower to destroy that final spell trap, and overlaying for a Perpetua. This is just bullying at this point, but I have never claimed to not be a bully. We'll activate every possible copy of a Spriggan's card before proceeding to the battle phase and walking in with a 12-mat X-Blower. So that's the combo the deck performs on the play, but what can it do on the draw? Our second match is up against Salamangreat. Ah, Salamangreat, never change your ability to put me directly to sleep. They're going first. They're going to lead with a copy of Jack Jaguar, going into a Balings to add a copy of Sanctuary to hand. Next, they'll activate Will of the Salamangreat, and god, we almost got away with it, but that is enough for a Sunlight Wolf. They'll go Sanctuary into Sunlight Wolf, Jack Jaguar's effect, putting back the Sunlight Wolf, and then set 3 pass. Alright, well, maybe we can do it. This is a pretty busted grip. We're going to lead with Gold Gongaga, then we're going to activate the Watch. We're going to get a Spriggan's to hand, then normal summon a Regulator, meeting the Rage. Oh, god, we didn't even get to activate Gold Gongaga. Okay, we can Monster Reborn back the Regulator and run into a Torrential Tribute. Very bad. Okay, they're going to draw for turn, and just about the worst possible thing they could top deck. They'll go for a Lady Debug. We can Ash Blossom because I want to prevent the Gazelle from showing up, but this deck can perform lethal at the drop of a hat thanks to Update Jammer. We'll concede. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Drytron, and god, our hand is so good. Oh, if only we had won the die roll. Okay, they're going first. They're going to lead with a copy of Cyber Emergency. That's going to add, you guessed it, an Alpha to hand. They'll fire off a Nova for a Delta. Afterwards, they'll fire off a Fafnir for a Meteorus. Weird way to get it, but it works. They'll go into an Alpha for a Ben 10, and have you seen this combo before? Ben 10 will trigger, adding a Ben 10 to hand. They'll go into Union Carrier, equipping from deck a copy of Dawn Knight. They'll fire off the Meteorus, getting a Ben 10 from graveyard. Dawn Knight will trigger, sending a Gamma. Gamma will trigger, sending a Ben 10. From here, they can activate Ben 10's effect for a copy of Vanity's Ruler. They'll activate Meteorus, targeting their Alpha to go into a Verte Anaconda, pay 2,000, and make a Dragoon. Afterwards, they're going to Tribute Summon a Vanity's Ruler, which hilariously triggers the Ben 10, adding an Ava to hand. I can't really do anything about this. We're going to start with a Booty. We'll activate Booty's effect for a Gold Gongaga. We'll activate Watch, which gets Dragoon. We have the second Watch, but it's pretty terrible in the face of a Resolved Ava, an Orange Light, a Purple Light, a Vanities, and a Dragoon. Let's go to game 2. So it's time for game 2, and not only are we going first, our opponent's grip is miserable. We're going to lead with a copy of Pot of Disparity, finding off the top Oh, thank God, a Gold Gongaga. We really needed that. We'll go ahead and take that sucker and then activate the Gold Gongaga, activating its effect, sending a P to the graveyard in order to get a Mary, and activating Mary's effect straight into a Herald of the Orange Light. That's actually not the worst thing in the world. We're going to normal summon a copy of Regulator and activate it to get a copy of Winder and a copy of Adjuster. We'll activate the Winder effect for a retrograde. This is why people don't play Orange Light, even though it's technically the same as Gamma. It costs 2 cards. Look how ahead of our opponent we are. They draw Herald of Ultimateness for turn. We'll activate Redoer, a spell. Perfect. We will Ash Blossom the Red Eyes Fusion. We're not negating the activation, which means they still can't summon. We'll activate Redoer's effect to draw an extra card and then draw for turn. We'll activate Redoer again, finding a monster, and then we'll get it off of our side of the field so we can activate Gold Gongaga. We'll activate that to get a copy of Explorer, then Pede's effect in graveyard. God, I would kill for something like a banger. We'll target that back row so we can hit their Dawn Knight just to Ash Blossom the activation. Sick rip off the top, by the way, and get in for 26. At end phase, we're going to get back our Time Thief Redoer, and then in standby, we're going to take the top card of our opponent's deck. Now, Meteors is exactly what I've been wanting to hit with Retrograde. They're going to go for an Alpha and then activate the Ritual spell, which we will take and importantly tuck under Redoer. Now they have no access to it. They'll proceed to the end of the main phase. We'll activate Redoer's effect to draw a card now that I'm sure we can kill them on the crackback. We'll activate Redoer and another monster, sheesh. We'll go for Pede and then activate the effect of Explorer, targeting the back row once again so we can pop the Alpha. From here we can activate the Banger to equip it to the Explorer and the Bezel ship, detaching the Banger so we can then activate its effect in order to get to hand a copy of Rocky. We'll activate Rocky's effect, getting this copy of Pede back, and we could stop any time now. Thank you, Past Joseph, for doing a whole bunch of difficult to commentate actions just to BM. We'll reborn this copy of Winder and then activate Winder's effect. Even I'm mad at myself at this point. Can we just go to the battle phase? We'll get in for lethal and proceed to game 3. So it's time for that all-important game 3, and oh my god. Oh, this is miserable. Well, our opponent's going first. They have a fantastic grip, and we have no hand traps. We are at the whims of our opponent's combos. They're going to go from Fafnir into Nova, getting an Alpha from deck. Next, they'll activate Zeta, popping the Alpha, and then Alpha, popping the Beta in hand? Weird. They'll then get a copy of Ben 10 to hand, and then activate Beta, pitching the Ben 10, triggering the Ben 10, and have you seen this before? Ben 10 for Ben 10 into Union Carrier. They're going to go into a Dawn Knight equip before firing off a Meteorus. They'll make a Ben 10 and then activate Dawn Knight's effect and Fafnir's effect as well in order to send a copy of Gamma to graveyard and add the Meteorus back by targeting their copy of Alpha. They'll bring back a Gamma and a copy of Zeta before activating Ben 10's effect for a Vanity's Ruler, before making Verte Anaconda, tribute summoning the Vanity's Ruler, triggering the Ben 10 for an Ava, and then Verte Anaconda-ing for a Dragoon. God, so much fun. Okay, well, I don't know what I could possibly do against this. We'll dig for something until it gets Dragooned. They'll activate Ava's effect in the graveyard. I can't believe you don't have to pitch that off a fairy. They're going to get an orange and a purple. We'll fire off a booty for fun, I suppose. We'll normal summon a Rocky, walk over this monster, and concede. So we're back with the deck, and, well, that's odd. The deck clearly has a lot of potential, but I don't know if that's enough. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. The field spell is extremely pushed. Everything searches it, it cheats out monsters, it protects your life points, it's reusable, it's everything you could ever ask for. 2. If you can make it through the first turn, then it's actually not bad. Your turn 3 setups are immaculate, especially when you get to start your turn by returning Redoer and Mary. And 3. Explorer is a hilarious card. It's non-targeting AoE removal via a mechanism that is nearly impossible to play around. Forget Mech Knight columns. This is a whole other level. And the cons. 1. It doesn't have a particularly interesting turn 1 setup. Mary Pass isn't fantastic, and if you run into the single hand trap that's all but guaranteed this format, that's pretty much your best case board. 2. You're often spending your second turn making Zeus, which has the double downside of turning off a huge majority of your deck that needs 2 cards to function, and putting a Sky Arsenal-shaped target on your head. Suddenly, all your opponent's removal that was off is on. And 3. It's hard as hell. Lines are long, punishing, and complex. I know I didn't play perfectly in these games. Mistakes are easy to make and game-ending. All in all, they're cool cards that interact in novel ways, but until they get something competent to do going first, I don't see them gunning for tiered status anytime soon. So that's that. As always, thanks to my patrons Dominic Ernst, Hakuo, AJBYGO, Alex Perea, Candyman, Chibi Gohan, Coolmaster X, Crispy, Dimsum05, Frosty, King Magic Ruler, Night Mary, Mike Carlotti, oh god, Oli Bjarki Aust Fioro, Rocky Hernandez, Rose Lapine, Seeker, Space Dandy 1993, Tyler Slacks. Okay, new month, you can do this. Adam Trevino, Adrian Bra, Emilio Lafandi, Algis Marcin Cavicius, Amaranta V, Andrew Benson, Andrew Ferruia, Andrew Horseman Linderman, Angry Bread, Apex Systems, Billy Williams, Blake Root, Blair, Brendan Brown, Candide, Chad Bortz, Chess Prime, Torps Away, CJ Alex, Crystal Red Fox, Dan the Man Hoban, Darcy Taves, Dylan Conley, Doug Parslow, Dive Missile, Distrin, Emperor Stove, Ernesto Ibarra, Fighting Fangwong, FUTR, Gavin Charlikowski, Hank Cheesecake, Inner Crescent, Isaac Jackson, Jane Linya, Jared Lorman, Jason Leonard, Jeff Leonard, Jose Luis Cortez, Juliet Chulian, Callie, Corey Hess, Kurakaze, Lake Bayer, Lawrence, Lottie, Lucas Geardas, Lucky Number 5, Lucas Arizo Hansen, Mac the Moderate, Major Duncan, Max, Meadow Edits, Mezzo Emrys, Michael Oskvark, Miyuna Arashi, Nick Extreme 99, Niru Soup, Nix Dolores, Papa Dragonite, Precise Spike 13, Picnic Blastit, Pro FP2, Pro Yugi Dad, Samsoon, Sapphic Ashley, Sean Deal, Second Standards Objective, Swinkles, This Machine 237, TJ Steakhouse, Yuri's Best, Zach McKee, and Yuki A. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing. And if you want to be part of the process, consider following me on Twitch as well. See you next time.